are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so tired.
Why?
Do we have to do this tonight?
Yes. We do have to do this.
No, I love to do it. I love to do it. I've just been substituting,
Yeah.
At my children's schools and at other local schools. And that's exhausting.
Yeah. If y'all hear some chatter back here, Amarilys's got a cat need. And this
My
girl,
cat hate is our co-host.
this girl wants it bad. She is chirping up a storm.
She's presenting to anything that moves.
And look, I've got her offspring who we just got fixed this week, and she gets it honest. I mean, baby kitten would present her behind to anything, walking or not walking.
Yes.
She did not care.
Yeah. Mabel walks up to my 6-year-old and is like, "Hey, baby."
Oh, baby kitten went up to our mastiff dog and was like, "Can you get it?" And I was like, "No, ma'am." He was scared to death. You know how like girls and boys in middle school, the girls will be ready to be like dating and flirting before the little boys are.
Yeah.
And little girls will like flirt with the boys and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm scared."
Yeah.
That's how Milo
The
was.
mastiff was scared.
Yeah, he was like, "Girl, I'm not ready for that. Get away."
She probably have her way with him.
She was trying.
Anyway, so if you
he
hear
would walk
it,
by the couch and she would stick her little paw out and try to like pet him.
hey,
was like, girl.
baby.
And they
Girl.
walk like their backs are broken.
Well, she's got the weight of that desire.
She's got the weight of love on her mind. She's weighed down. I asked Philip, I said, "What would you do if I walked into the bedroom like that?" If I
Get it?
If I walked in with like my back all broke up and I was like, and he was like, "I would love it."
Yes, I was going to say he does not care.
He was like, "You would
He
not have
kind
to.
of prefers it.
You would not have to present to me." I was like, "Okay."
Maybe
Well,
she'll settle down here in a second.
maybe so.
Anyway, by the way, everybody, this is On the Dock, and I'm Amaryllis.
And I'm Misty.
And we watch documentaries so that you don't have to watch some. Plus, we just talk about a lot of nonsense.
And we just love it.
And we just love it.
Yeah.
Even if it is crazy late at night tonight.
Yes. Well, Amaryllis, we have got some new patrons
Whoop, whoop.
for our Off the Dock channel.
I can't believe they keep signing up.
Yay. I mean, like, every time you send me one, I'm like, we're famous.
So famous.
We're so famous. Okay, so we want to give a shout out to Tamala, which is a friend of mine from high school. Thank you, Tamala. Allie, Kirsten, Ashley, and Kristen. Thank you so much for being
Thank you,
patrons
ladies.
and listening to our nonsense. We have got a real special Off the Dock episode coming up.
Yeah.
We're going to pair up with our men's.
Yeah. Listen, you guys know us, but you don't know our husbands. And I'm afraid that when they hear our husbands, they're not going to want to hear us anymore. They will only want to hear our husbands.
Oh, girl.
Misty, what if they decide to steal our audience and start their own podcast?
Philip is not as fun as I am, so that's never going to happen.
Oh, I think he'll be just fine. I think he'll be
Now,
just
Rhett, on the other hand, he
Listen,
loves an audience.
He loves an audience.
Mm-hmm. Philip will be like, "How many more minutes of this do I have to do?" I've got meal prep, and I'd like to go sweep
Meal prep?
I've got meal prep, and I'd like to go sweep the kitchen here in a little bit. So could you hurry it up?
Will he come clean my kitchen? That would be so great.
If you put him in there long enough, he will.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so great.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So let's talk about fire fraud.
Oh my goodness.
Had you heard about fire fraud?
Okay, so
About the Fyre
I had
Festival?
heard people talk about it, but I had no idea what it even was. And like I'd seen the Netflix and like
You probably didn't watch it though.
no, because it looked like it was some kind of like war scene or something. And so I was like, I don't want to watch anything about war. But yeah, it was not about
Misty,
that.
what's going on in the Ukraine right now?
No idea. I'm praying for them, but I don't want to know the news. You know, I don't
Well, I'm
like.
just asking you because you said you didn't want to watch things about war, and that's what's happening in
I don't
Ukraine.
want to see it. Yeah.
It's pretty terrible. It's pretty awful.
Please know I care about it and like it hurts my heart. But if I watch it, my anxieties get up.
Yes,
and
it's
I
a good
can't-
idea you don't watch it.
It's a good idea I don't, because I'll be over here like, how can we do something to these children to keep them from getting what's it called?
Vaporized from nuclear
Yeah,
weapons that
I'll be
will
like
surely
up
used.
all night trying to figure out ways to fix it.
Yeah.
So
No, it's best that you don't, but it is a horrible, heartbreaking thing.
yeah,
Okay, so you didn't watch it because you thought it was something
about war.
right, military related.
Yeah, and I was like, no thanks.
Yeah.
And so, but then you told me about it, and I was like, oh, people without bathrooms. Yes, let's watch that.
Well, I watched both because there's two documentaries. One of them is on Hulu and the other one is on Netflix. And they came out at the same time. They were competing documentaries.
Right.
And they're both good, but one of them is better than the other. The Netflix is better than the other. And originally I thought it was the Hulu one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the time I got to the end of the Hulu one, about 20-something minutes left in the documentary.
Yeah.
In the documentary, I realized it was the wrong one. So I've watched 2 Fyre fraud documentaries.
Well, I've watched one about 4 hours ago, and it was great.
Well, that's standard.
Yeah.
That's standard. That's standard.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Fyre, the Greatest Party That Never Happened. And this one's on Netflix. Like I said, there's one on Hulu. And I'll probably use some of the stuff that was included in that one that wasn't in Netflix, but there's not really a huge difference in it.
How about this was the first time I saw Ja Rule since he was hanging out with J-Lo.
Ja Rule hang out with J-Lo?
They had a music video.
Did they?
Yeah. What's love got to do with it, baby? You don't know.
Tina Turner.
No.
I don't know.
This is a different one.
I mean, is this like early 2000s?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably. I mean, J-Lo was still wearing like the velour sweatsuits and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Selena days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know that my daughter's Spanish class had to watch Selena for an assignment? I'm not even kidding.
Why?
This is public school in America. They made her watch a Tejano musician's life story in Spanish.
In Spanish.
Right. I guess in place of learning to conjugate verbs and learning to actually speak the language. I don't know.
Yeah. Avery, when she was in Spanish class, they had to watch that Disney movie.
What?
What is it called?
Coco?
Yes, Coco.
Oh, for the love.
That's what they watched.
What is wrong with these teachers?
I don't know.
Listen. Oh, my gosh. We were just at a Board of Education meeting the other night. So Missy and I are very involved in our children's education.
Yes.
And sometimes I just wonder,
What's happening?
what the heck?
Yeah.
There's another story there where it comes to that Spanish class, but that's for another time. But I was not pleased
Yeah.
with the accompanying assignments that went along with that Selena movie.
Right.
I said to the teacher, just for context, Mrs. Spanish teacher, I speak 2 languages. One of them is Spanish. I'm fluent.
Right.
I said, I have a degree in international relations, and my parents are immigrants. So I understand how to learn Spanish. And I can't understand.
Can't understand what's
how this
happening here.
works.
Help me understand.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
And she sent me this long, convoluted answer about national standards. And I was like, well, I guess that's the problem.
There you go.
It's the national standard. Now, I don't want this to be taken as an anti-teacher thing at all. No, please, we love teachers.
Yes.
This was just a situation that really irked me.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
speaking of Fyre fraud.
Again, other things that we're so great at.
Why don't people just call us for everything,
Why
Misty?
don't people just say, hey, what's the best way to educate somebody? And then I would
And then
tell
just
them.
ask me.
And then ask you.
Yeah.
And then they'd say, hey, how's the best way to educate somebody with special needs? And then ask me.
I mean, Misty,
And we'd be fine.
Why, I've been to at least 3 or 4 Board of Education meetings.
Well,
I know it all by now.
yep.
I absolutely know how to educate the children of America by now. And I've been substituting for a year.
And you homeschooled for how long?
And I homeschool. Listen, if we want to talk about homeschooling, I was the world's worst homeschooler. Were you a good homeschooler?
I was an amazing homeschooler.
Really?
Yeah, I had a master's degree.
Really?
In homeschooling.
Well,
I gave it to myself.
okay. I homeschooled my daughter, Catalina. She told me she wants me to use her name.
Catalina.
Catalina. I homeschooled her from 3rd grade through part of 6th grade. We're not that homeschooling family that was like scared of public school or anything like that.
Yeah.
She just wanted to be homeschooled, so we said okay.
Yeah.
And I loved it because I loved the schedule and the flexibility.
You can go to the beach anytime you want.
Anytime.
Anytime
do
you
whatever
want.
you want.
Yeah,
Anytime.
anytime you want.
I loved it. And when she did do school, it was done like in 3 hours.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Max. But eventually she was like, Mom, I want friends. And so I was like, okay, I guess.
Whatever.
So she went back to school.
Yeah.
But every single day of that last year or so, I felt so guilty because I totally didn't really make her do school.
Mm-hmm.
We did it all online, and I could watch what she was doing, and she barely did anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we'll catch up tomorrow.
Here's how we went. We would start out super strong. We'd have like a schedule.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And I'd be like, get up and
And you
get.
bought all these books and curriculum.
And we had all this stuff, and I'd be like, get up and get dressed, just like you're going to a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd have like little things, and we'd go on field trips. And then about October, I'd be like, let's just bring it back a little bit. We're here to just move at our own pace.
Pace it, yeah.
And
pace
so then
it.
we would go downhill for a little bit, and then it would hit after December, and I'd be like, oh crap, we got to get all this work done. And then I would make them get everything done. Yeah. So,
Well, I would just take basically as much of December off as I wanted.
oh yeah. Mhm.
I mean, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I was really scared because when I put her back in school, I was like, she's going to have to take all remedial
Oh,
classes.
it's scary when you put them back. When I put mine back in high school, I was like, oh my gosh, are they going to be so dumb? Have I not
Yeah.
taught? My kids were great.
You know what? It's a testament to homeschooling. This is such a tangent, but it's a testament to homeschooling because Catalina's a freaking honor student.
Oh, so is
She-
Avery.
Yeah, like she
Yeah.
got their class rankings the other day. She's top 10.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I guess it was just learning
It was really
self.
just your influence.
It was because I am so smart.
I know.
But anyway,
Fire Frog. I didn't want to watch it because I thought it was about war. But I'm glad I did watch it because, it's just a big old trash fire.
cluster.
I was in
loved
it
it.
from the word go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you might be a little bit bored at the beginning. No?
No. As soon as they were like, this dude decided he was going to start a music festival and had zero experience, I was
In
like,
3 months.
in
4
3
months.
months, I was like, this is me if I had money. I would be like, y'all, we're about to do something so awesome. And then I would get everybody to go and I would make it sound really good. And then I would have not done anything.
And he didn't do
He didn't do
anything.
nothing.
He didn't do anything.
And my favorite thing is once he, and we'll talk about this more, but once he got, hey dude, people are flying in on planes and we still don't have anything. And he was
it's gonna
like,
work out.
keep pushing forward.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fine. Don't worry about
I'll
it.
work it out.
That's what I always tell Philip whenever we're going to have company come into our house. So Philip says that I do what I call show house, which is I only clean super good when I know somebody's coming. And he'll be like, hey, don't forget your friend Marie's coming, to see you. And I'll be like, oh, I got like 5 days. And he'll be like, okay, but you don't want to be up. And I'm like, dude, I got it. It's fine. And I'll start all like these projects because I'll be like, oh, she needs to think we like hang pictures up over here.
Right.
And so like I'll get stuff going and then he'll be like, hey, 3 days. And I'll be like, I'm good. And then he'll be like, 2 days. And I'll be like, don't worry about
Stop
it.
nagging.
And then the night before, I'm crying in the floor, and I'm like, can you steam clean the rest of these carpets because they're all just saturated wet, and I don't know how to get the water back up. So this would be what would happen to me if I had any money. So that's why we can't have any.
Oh, okay.
I
It's a
can't.
blessing.
I can't have any.
It's
yeah.
a blessing. It's a blessing.
I'll do
Not until
stupid
you learn to
things with
clean on time.
No. Mm-mm.
So Billy McFarland is the villain, I guess you could call him, the main guy in this story. He's the one who started Fyre. I keep wanting to call it Fire Fraud, but that's the name of the movie. Fyre. So Billy McFarland is this young guy. He's a millennial.
Right.
And he's one of these guys that just, first of all, he's a con man. He is con man on par with Tinder swindler.
Okay, now here's what I couldn't catch. Was he already a rich kid, or had he just already kind of conned a bunch of people and made a little bit of money to get himself
I
started?
don't know if he was already, I mean, he came from a good family.
Did he come from money though?
I don't know if he came from money or
Okay.
not. But he was entrepreneurial, or at least an ideas guy, and he didn't know how to execute the entrepreneurial part. So he came up with a black card. You've heard of the Amex black card, which is basically unlimited credit with American Express. Only the top tier of the 1%, the 1%ers have it.
Madonna.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it's very exclusive and very, very prestigious. And so he came up with this credit card and he called it Magnesis,
Which is the weirdest.
which
What does that mean?
it means magnum.
Isis. I don't know.
I don't want to say it.
Penis?
Yes.
not get that till just right now.
I didn't get it either, but they mentioned it in the Hulu documentary.
What?
And he said it's completely made up, but it totally isn't. He made a portmanteau of those two words. Yeah, totally.
Gross.
So it started out as this card. It's like this metal card, and you put your
it's like the
magnetic stripe on
It's like the Apple Card now. Our Apple Card is metal.
Is it metal? Okay,
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, it's kind of like that.
And when you first get it, you're like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do with this? Like, it's so weird.
So he started this card, and everybody was like, oh, it's so cool. And it was very millennial and very, I've got to have it. And so then it turned into, okay, anybody that has this card gets these special things, like I've rented a townhouse in Soho, and anybody can come have drinks here, or we can have lectures here. And it was very exclusive, and it was so stupid.
Yeah.
But, like everything else, it didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work.
From what I understood was he started the Fyre company as a booking company to book talent. And then from that, he had decided, well, in order to get this booking company up off the ground, let's throw this music festival. And we can get all these celebrities involved and all of these musical acts involved. And that way, whenever people think about this festival, they think about us, and we're the only way to book like talent. Right.
So that's the genesis of the Fyre Festival. So you got to think of the Fyre media as two different things, as the app and then the festival. So Billy says, what we need to do is do this on a private island in the Bahamas.
Right.
So let's go find a private island. So he goes down there and he finds a private island, and it was previously owned by Pablo Escobar. Do you know Pablo Escobar?
He is the drug lord.
Yes, he was the drug lord.
Right.
Have you seen that documentary about him?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh goodness.
Bad man.
Not good.
Not a good man.
How about I'd be scared about what I would find on that island?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was not
Don't
a good man.
dig too deep.
Yes. But the Escobar family was like, hey, we don't want anybody to know. And so Billy...
Don't say our names.
Don't say our name. So Billy promptly sent out a press release that said, we're having Fyre Festival at this island.
He said, hey guys, don't tell anybody, but Pablo Escobar used to own this joint.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he also put it like on the screen.
And they said, hey, guess what? You don't get to use this anymore.
So now he's got this Fyre Festival that he's going to have, that he's promised.
Which, by the way, before he announced, hey, we're having this, they set up this promo shoot, and it's on this island owned by Pablo Escobar. So all of their promotional videos that they shot were on this island that they're now not going to use.
Right. Now, let's talk about this island real quick.
Okay.
Because it is, have you ever been to a Caribbean island?
I have, yeah.
They're spectacular.
Yeah,
I mean,
beautiful.
Those my mom, my parents are Cuban, and my mom always says that the beaches in Cuba are the most beautiful beaches in the whole world. And to me, then I've been to several Caribbean islands, kind of they're all the same.
Yeah.
But this blue ocean water that almost looks like you're in a swimming pool.
Oh, yeah.
It's spectacular.
Yeah, Philip gets mad at me because every time we see any movie that has like water like that, I'll be like, oh my gosh, look at that water. Or like we watch Survivor, and I'll be like, look at that water. And he's like, you say that every time you see freaking water.
Because it's spectacular.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's spectacular.
He's like, you're just used to Alabama dirt water.
Yeah. Yeah. The Gulf Coast is
the
not
Gulf
like
Coast is not where the water's at, okay? And I'm like, oh, okay.
No.
He's like,
the Gulf Coast does have some beautiful beaches, but it is not Caribbean beautiful.
No, the beer cans have really done a number. Yeah.
There are no beer cans in Pablo Escobar's island.
No.
Okay, so this island is basically uninhabited. There's hardly anything there.
Except for that plane that's crashed in the middle of the water.
Well, yeah, there's that. There's pigs that swim in the ocean.
How about I would be
It's a very famous thing that happens in the Bahamas, that area. It's pretty amazing. Like,
why do they swim in the ocean like that?
I don't know. I don't know the story.
How did they get there?
I don't know. I don't know that story.
Okay.
But it's weird, right, to see it. But it's
somebody
something
left a
people
couple
come
of
to.
pigs there.
Yeah. So there's the world's most famous supermodels. People like Gigi Hadid.
Not
or
Gigi.
Bella
Hadid.
Hadid. Emily Ratajkowski. Hailey Bieber or Haley Baldwin at the time. I mean, just a good 30 models that are there, plus another 30 crew and people from Fyre Fest. And so they made
and
this.
Ja Rule
And Ja
decides
Rule,
to become his partner. Yeah.
Yes, Billy. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So they made this beautiful video that was produced by F. Jerry Media,
Oh, yeah.
right? Isn't that who it was?
Right?
Wasn't that the name of the company?
Yes.
F. Jerry Media?
Yeah.
Like, fill in the blank on what that means? F. Jerry Media.
F does not stand for fart.
No. It doesn't. Can you imagine naming your company with such a foul word? Isn't that terrible?
No.
I don't know how that gets past anybody.
Uh-uh.
But I guess we're just not in that industry.
I guess people remember it, though.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, they're known as Jerry Media, but like all their social media is F. Jerry.
F. Jerry.
Media.
I wonder who Jerry
Anyway.
is. I bet he's like,
But I'm going
thanks.
to tell you, they made a beautiful video.
Oh, gorgeous.
They made this gorgeous video, and this one video and the pictures that were taken there, everything that was done on this one weekend is what was used throughout the whole campaign of advertising for Fyre Festival.
Right.
And so it made it look like it was going to be this luxury paradise full of beautiful supermodels, and it was going to be a weekend for the rich millennial set.
It was like Coachella in the Caribbean.
Yeah. Can I tell you, I would rather go down a slide of razor blades into a pool of rubbing alcohol than
You just made me think of the movie Saw.
than go to a music festival.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think I would either. I do not like crowds. I do not like not knowing how long I have to wait somewhere. And I definitely do not like public bathrooms. So that would
Yeah.
never work for me. And I don't sleep outside.
Were you've been in Birmingham your whole life, so did you ever do city stages?
I went to city stages and walked around in the daytime, but I did not stay for the concert kind of thing.
Yeah.
No.
I never went. I try to stay as far away as possible.
And my
from
sister
city
used to
stages.
go, and friends of mine would go, and they loved it. Like city
Oh,
stages.
people
was,
do love it. But first of
was
all, City
huge.
Stages was in June. That was our local music festival 20 years ago here in Birmingham.
Right. I don't think they even have it anymore.
Oh no, they don't. They haven't had it for years. But it was in June.
Yeah.
Walking around the
They
asphalt
do the same
in
thing that
Birmingham
Rock
in
the
June.
South.
Where's that?
It's here.
In Birmingham?
Yeah, Rock the South, they do a country music festival. And it's like in the middle of a field in Alabaster. And it's like, yeah.
What?
And it's in the summer, so hot. Yeah.
I want no part of that.
I don't either.
I would never.
Anything where I have to bring a lawn chair, no, thank you.
No, I want no part of that.
I want an air-conditioned BJCC where I know where my seat is and nobody can take it.
Yeah, and my seat has to be a good seat too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go if it's not a good seat.
No, I don't like not knowing what I'm doing. Like, even with like trying to book condos for the beach and stuff, I'll stay at the same one over and over and over again. And
'Cause
Philip
you
will be
know.
like, don't you want to try someplace new? And I'm like, no, I don't know what's going to be there when I get there.
Yeah.
Like, my luck, I get there and it's going to be like a bunch of cots in a room
Yeah.
somewhere. And no, thanks. I'm good.
Yeah, this is not appealing to me in any way. But then
Also,
people
we've got
are-
bad backs too.
There's that. But people are spending enormous amounts of money on these tickets.
Where are these 20-year-olds getting $250,000
I don't understand,
to
Misty.
spend on a music festival? I could buy 2 of my houses for that.
You know, that's why people did it. People were not upset about
Oh,
this
that-
going wrong because it's just a bunch of spoiled.
We don't feel bad for you that you just spent what I would spend on my retirement
Yeah,
to go to a music festival
Yeah.
for 3 days. Yeah.
because some models told you to go. Yeah.
How about their Instagram logo?
Okay, so the way they decide, which is honestly genius, what they decided to do to market this thing was they sent this image to all of these models that were there, plus Kendall Jenner, who was paid $250,000 to post
One
this.
post.
One post. It was a blank orange square.
That's it.
And on the same day, at the same time, they all posted it and they all linked Fyre Festival.
Right.
And within, what was the time? Like within like 60 minutes, it was 95% sold out.
Sold out. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it didn't take long for it to be 100% sold out.
Yeah, and they were marketing this thing with like, okay, so you can either have a luxury Villa tent on the beach would be like kind of your lowest tier.
Right.
Or you can have a private home on the island, which would be kind of your second tier. Or you can have a yacht, and you can stay on a yacht in the middle of the ocean, and that would be like your third tier. And so there was something for everybody, okay?
In the Hulu documentary, they talked to somebody that they didn't talk to on here. It was a guy that was operations. Like, he basically was an organizer. And he said he had suggested a cruise ship. He said, let's keep a cruise ship offshore.
And we can...
And we'll ferry them back and forth.
Right.
And that's where they'll stay. That'll be their hotel rooms.
And they
which
said,
was really smart, if you ask me.
Very smart.
And Billy McFarland was like, no, we're not doing that.
That's tacky.
We're not doing that.
Let's just get these hurricane tents instead.
Let's get these FEMA tents.
Let's get these FEMA tents instead.
Yeah.
But now everything that they showed as far as like the luxury tents and stuff did not exist.
No, it only existed in digital form.
Right. Everything was digital. So when they looked at their accommodations, they looked really beautiful.
I have to tell you, I looked at those images and not a single one of them looked $50,000 for the weekend good.
Oh, not that good. Not that good.
I don't get it.
Also, you're on a beach. There's not going to be air conditioning in there.
No.
You're going to sweat your behind off.
Yeah.
Also, where do you toilet at?
Right. Well, that's the other thing that the guy that I just told you about, that one of the cruise ships, he said, well, if we're going to pull this off, the first thing we have to go do is buy 1,000 toilets at Lowe's.
Yeah.
He said, he literally said that we're going to have to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and go get 1,000 toilets. And they just kind of giggled at him. And at some point, like a month before the show, when he kept saying, hey, these things are going wrong, this is not going to work, he was relieved of his duties. Now, that was on the Hulu documentary. They didn't show it here, but...
Well, yeah, because they didn't want any naysayers.
No, he did not like... He only liked yes men. He only liked solutions.
He said, we're problem solvers.
We're problem solvers. And listen, I mean, there is a lot to be said for a leader who says, I just need a problem solver. But also...
But when all you have are problems...
Right. Also, when there's full agreement that this is this is not like one person saying, I don't know.
Right.
You know, this was everybody was saying this isn't working.
Well, now Billy, one of the solutions that he came up with, because once they realized, number one, they overbooked, they did not have enough space on the island, nor did they have enough accommodations for all the people on the island, nor did they have enough money to pay the acts that they had booked, nor did they have enough money to pay any of the people that were part of the island, the citizens there that were doing work. He said, well, let's think of a different way that we can get some money so we can kind of pull this off. Let's offer them prepaid bands. And these kids can load money onto these armbands, and that'll be like their credit card while they're there. And if they want to go spend it at the bar or they want to get dinner or whatever, it'll just be on there.
Like Disney or when you go on a cruise.
These dummies start going, and he said, look, what most people are doing are putting like $3,000 on there, but you put more if you want to. These kids were putting $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 on a band.
Misty, can you imagine Catalina or Avery going on one of these trips and you saying, you know what, I think your spending money is $8,000 okay?
Avery gets $50 in Six Flags.
You're going to have to bump that up. Six Flags has got more expensive.
No, ma'am. Okay. What's our one down here? Splash Adventure.
Have you ever been to Splash Adventure? I've never been.
Vision Land and
Vision Land.
$50. Six Flags
is Vision Land open?
It's Six Flags over Bessemer.
I don't think Vision Land is open anymore.
Vision Land is what Splash Adventures is now.
Okay, but isn't there still like a roller coaster there?
Yeah, they have a theme park part and then they have a water park part.
I have never been.
You never been? Oh yeah, I went when it was Vision Land, and I've gone since it's Alabama Splash Adventures.
I should probably try to take my girls there this summer.
It's pretty. I mean, it's jank, but it's pretty fun.
Is it?
It's jank. Yeah.
It sounds like Germ City.
Oh, you're definitely going to get a venereal disease in that lazy river.
In the lazy river.
Yeah, so you might want to put on
All right, we'll just stay home and use a
a watertight garment.
Gross.
You're going to come home with
gross.
crabs.
All right, so then they hire this music festival consultant, which, by the way, how do I get a job as a music festival consultant?
How do I get a job as any kind of consultant? I mean,
A music festival consultant.
can we be a podcast consultant?
Well, we are pretty, amazing at it.
I mean, seriously.
We've got 20s and 20s of listeners.
20s.
We increased it from 10s and 10s of listeners.
Yeah.
We can't seem to go beyond the 20s and 20s.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Anyway, so this Mark Weinstein guy, he was awesome. He was like, wait, you want to do this in 3 months?
Yeah.
That can't happen. But he still goes to work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that guy I just told you about. His name was Keith, and it's actually from this documentary. I thought it was from the other one. He's a pilot, and guess how he taught himself how to fly?
That flight simulator.
Microsoft Flight Simulator.
He said, I don't need flight lessons.
He learned to fly on Microsoft Flight Simulator, and then he took up a group of these people in his airplane and
did freaking
zero G's.
barrel rolls.
Yes. He learned how to, did you hear me? He learned to fly on Microsoft
Flight
Simulator. It
Simulator.
really is marvelous. It really is amazing.
It's
You really can learn how to fly there.
Philip told me that he is dead convinced that he could be a heart surgeon just from watching YouTube videos.
Okay.
He's
not wrong.
He thinks that he can learn anything from YouTube.
Well, he's not wrong about
Except for to lay flooring, because I beg him, and he says, well, we really need a professional for that.
Well, I watched a YouTube video on how to cut my hair recently, and I totally did it.
You did?
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not amazing, but it works.
It's how I learned to crochet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
YouTube video?
YouTube video.
Well, how about that?
Yeah.
I learned how to do a lot of, when I was trying to teach myself how to make cookies,
Yeah.
the royal icing and all that stuff, I did a lot of YouTube watching then. And baking, a lot of baking stuff.
The internet's incredible.
Yeah. The internet's crazy.
It is. I think I want to learn to fly too.
I don't want any part of that.
No.
But Rhett is convinced that he could go in and save an airplane that the pilot has been poisoned.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. He
No
100%.
problem?
Yeah.
Well, Philip said if anybody needs heart surgery while they're on there, he can do that.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Well, we should always plan to fly together.
Exactly.
Okay, so the technical production company, they were consulted only 45 days out. So that means that they had 45 days to get lighting, sound, stage, seating, all the technical production. Everything had to be done within 45 days. And you have to remember, this is a remote
island with no internet.
You're right, nothing. We didn't even tell him how they found the island. He had to go searching for another island. Now, he had promised that this was an island that he owned, or that was not he owned, that Pablo Escobar had owned. That was part of the whole shtick.
Uninhabited.
Yes.
Like off the beaten path.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He could not find anything. Nobody would let him on their island to do his little thing.
Yeah.
So he finally found, the Bahamas are a chain of islands. There's tons of them.
Yeah.
He finally found one called the Great Exumas, I think is what it was called. Is that right?
Yes.
The Great Exumas Islands. And and they were like, sure, we would love to have you, because they signed a contract for 5 years of Fyre Festival.
Yeah.
So they were like, this is going to change our economy. This is
fantastic. They were so excited.
And he booked it on the one weekend where anybody goes to Great Exumas, which is their regatta.
Uh-huh.
And the population of the island doubles for that weekend.
Right.
And there are no hotels and no cars. And it gets booked like a year ahead of time. So here he is 3 months before the show. Uh-huh. And he was like, yeah, we're going to have 20,000 people here, or 10,000, whatever it was. It was an enormous amount of people.
Right.
But they did it. And they found an abandoned sandals resort that didn't have a beach. It had an ocean view, but it didn't have a beach.
Right.
And it was full of gravel. It was all gravel. It wasn't even sand or anything. It was full of gravel. And so he was like, well, yeah, we'll take it, even though there was zero infrastructure. There was nothing there.
Nothing.
So, so the technical production company was like, okay, I mean, I guess we'll come and try to figure it out. But that meant that they had all these bands, and I had only ever heard of Blink 182. I didn't know any of the other bands. Did you know any of the other bands?
Not really.
I don't. I'm just not. I don't listen to music that much.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but I don't. And they all had their own writers about what they wanted technically. So they only had 45 days to accomplish this, which is to say they couldn't. The creative director put together a budget which was for about $38 million. It was supposedly it was going to cost $38 million to do this show. Mm-hmm. The whole thing, the festival. Then the guy that they used to book all the acts was like this 21-year-old college kid.
They hired everybody with zero experience.
Yeah. They were like, hey, call Blink 182 and then call these other folks or call whoever you think.
Yeah.
And so he booked everybody, and they were expecting a certain level of production, which of course they could not deliver.
Right.
And then Andy King was an event producer who had done events with Magnesis. Remember, we talked about how he had that townhouse, and if you were a member of that card, then you got all kinds of stuff. So Andy King, he had been an event producer with them, and Billy called him and he said, hey, I know we're like 2 months out, but I really need your help. And so Andy had a soft spot for Billy because they had worked together, and he had known him since he was a younger man. And so he came on board and he was like, okay, I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
Also, 250 influencers, the ones that put all their orange squares, they had all been promised a one-bedroom, three-person villa on the beach.
For free.
For free. That did not exist.
No.
Because there's no beach.
There's no beach.
There's no beach.
Yeah.
There's no beach. So people started sounding the alarm. People around Billy were like, this isn't coming together.
It's not going to happen.
This is not coming together at all.
Yeah.
So there's this man named Calvin. He's an investor, and he also kind of a journalist. He started investigating, and he had discovered that they'd leased an old sandals report. And all you had to do was go online and take a look at the Google view, and you could see that they had adapted the old sandals to they had made this beautiful map of where everything would be.
Right. And they just cut off half of it.
And they cut off the bad parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he creates this Fyre Fraud Festival Twitter account, and nobody notices because he says the Twitter account was Fyre Fraud Festival, and
it doesn't take off.
Nobody notices.
Yeah,
and he's
nobody
like,
knows.
Oh my gosh, these people are taking all this money. We've got to really.
He's like, y'all, you're
out.
about to show up to a show.
Yes. I mean, these people, they were like the Bahamians, and there's tons of local workers too. Tons.
Yeah.
Tons and tons of local people that are trying to pull this off. They're working day and night, like 18, 19 hours. And they're just not making any progress.
And they're all being told, you'll get paid afterwards.
Oh, you're going to get paid afterwards.
After this happens,
it's
going to be huge. And you have to think, for them, they're thinking, well, this is a 5-year commitment. If this could be as big as Coachella or these other festivals, like, we're going to be golden.
This is a big deal.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. And then Billy was they're running out of money. I mean, everywhere you turn, they're running out of money.
Oh, yeah. He spent everybody's money.
Yeah.
On crap.
On crap.
Yeah. And consultants and things that weren't going to work out.
Also, he was kind of a magician fundraiser, and he would leave for the weekend, and then he'd come back with like $3 million in his pocket.
Well, they said that's the only thing he was talented at was talking somebody into giving him money. He couldn't actually do anything with it.
Right.
But he could get them to give it to him.
That's right. So he said, what's another way that we can raise money? Why don't we sell cabanas and yacht parties that didn't exist?
Yeah.
He was like, this will be a great way to like raise $20,000 a head.
Yeah.
But he didn't consider that there were no yacht parties.
But you have to have a yacht.
And you got to have a cabana.
And you have to have a cabana.
And there was not any.
There was nothing.
Yeah. So Andy tried to convince Billy to tell people, hey, listen, let's just set this expectation. Let's just go ahead and tell people we're going to have the festival, but it's not luxury.
This is not Coachella. This is Woodstock.
Yes. Yes. Where a lot of people died.
A lot of people
overdosed.
died and overdosed in the mud.
Yes.
And he was like, no.
We got to set an expectation.
And he said no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and that's when they started doing those armbands when they were like, we don't have any money. We got to get
some money.
And then they had also originally budgeted $6 million for food, And Billy was like, hey, Andy, I need you to handle this. We really only have $1 million for food. Because they had originally said, they had promised like lobster and caviar and high-end meals.
Right.
And instead, now we're looking for some Hot Pockets.
And some
we don't
hot
have any
dogs.
power.
Yeah.
Except we don't have any power, so.
Well, and poor Andy, then he comes to Andy and he says, Andy, Andy, we don't have any water.
We don't have any water.
What we need you to do, because you're gay, is we need you to go to this guy and we need to have you offer him a favor.
Yes.
To get us this water, okay? I cannot imagine what was going through Andy's head, okay? I don't even know how to say it on here.
Okay.
All
right, let's back up. Andy had left for the weekend. Andy had left for the weekend, and he's the only grown-up in this situation, okay?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And he left for the weekend. When he came back, Billy was like, hey, our 2 tractor trailers full of water are being held in customs.
Yeah.
Because we can't pay the $175,000 fee to get it out of customs.
Which would be what one person would have paid to go.
Right.
And y'all don't have that.
Right.
Yeah.
So he says, hey, Andy, I need for you to, quote, take one for the team. Hey, my good gay buddy, Andy.
Or give one for the team.
Or oh, my gosh.
He asked Andy to go to the candy shop and lick somebody's lollipop. And poor Andy.
I need for you to go to this Bahamian customs guy and, yeah.
Offer him something off the appetizer menu.
Yes.
In order to get these trucks.
Yes.
And Andy said, I took one for the team.
No, Andy said, I went and took a shower.
I got myself ready.
I went and swished some mouthwash.
Mouthwash. He said,
I got myself real pretty.
I scrubbed my tongue with that toothbrush.
And I went to go get that water.
I said, I'm going to do what it takes.
I'm going to do what it takes.
And
I got to get that water.
I got to get that water.
And he ended up not having to do it.
And the guy was like, hey, buddy,
Yeah, hey, buddy.
We can work
I'm
something
okay.
else out.
Put that away.
I'm good. Close your mouth. I'm good.
Okay.
Oh, Andy.
So he ended up not having to do what he did, but he went in there with full intention of doing a sex act on this man.
I mean, he
to
probably
get
had
the water out of customs.
Well, he's probably thinking, oh my gosh, this is my career and the rest of my life on the line here. Like, if this thing goes down, I'm going down with it. He was probably desperate, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, surely he had to be. But God love him. He looked so relieved.
He was so relieved, but he was going to do it.
He was like, hey, good news.
He was going to do it.
I didn't have to do it.
All right. So then they decided that, you know what, we don't have villas. We don't have cabanas.
No. What's the next best thing?
What can we put these people in?
Let's get Hurricane Katrina tents.
Let's get Hurricane. Wait.
Leftover.
Was it Matthew? It wasn't Katrina. That was 10, 15 years ago.
That was probably the ones they got.
They're from Hurricane Matthew. Either way, they're FEMA tents. They're hexagonal, octagonal, geodesic is what they call them. Geodesic tents. They look like igloos is what they look like.
Little igloos, yeah.
They look like beach igloos.
And they had blown up air mattresses in them.
Okay, so the night before the festival starts, there's a massive torrential storm.
Flood, yeah.
Like, massive. So now, not only are we all in tents, not...
And now these tents are stacked on top of each other. Like, they are so close.
Also, they don't shield you from the elements.
Not at all.
At all.
No.
Because when you walk in, they're muddy. The floor is muddy from the water. And the mattresses are soaked through.
And one of the guys said, we tried to stay in there the night before everybody arrived. We got eaten by mosquitoes.
Yep.
There was no air. We could barely breathe in there. Everything was soaked and muddy. He was like, we didn't sleep at all. And these are being sold as luxury
yeah.
villas.
So it's funny because they show videos of, at the time, all these social media posts of the day before when everybody is starting to get on their flights. Also, by the way, they were ignoring all their people because Fyre Festival was supposed to be responsible for flights too. This was like an all-inclusive situation. But they showed social media posts of everybody, all these influencers that were so excited about going to Fyre Fest because what they were very good at was marketing this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they really were very good at selling it.
Bless, they were so excited.
Oh, they were so excited.
But
I
they
can't relate to that. I just can't relate to it.
I can't either, but they got to the airport, and that was red flag number one.
Okay, so it was supposed to be a private jet. And what it was an old 737 that somebody had written Fyre Fest.
Fyre Festival. It's like if you showed up to prom and you were expecting a limo and somebody had taken a yellow school bus and put a big piece of white paper on it and it just said limo.
It just said limo. Yeah, because it wasn't even branded, right?
No.
It was just like.
It was like a tarp.
It was like cricket cut.
Yeah, like vinyl. Somebody got out there with a vinyl.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so that's strike number one, like immediately strike number one. And then they get there, and instead of putting them on luxury transportation, they put them on big yellow school buses.
Yeah.
And the first round of people they sent off to this bar, this different beach. I don't know why they did that, but they moved a bunch.
They just wanted to buy some time,
yeah.
I think.
And they kept all these people there for 6 hours, and they kept them loaded.
Now, during all this, they're supposed to have their first act coming up, which is Blink 182. And they called and said, we're out.
Right.
We're good. My favorite was how they were able to give them the concierge service of their luggage.
That was the best.
Which was 2 tractor trailer trucks that pulled up with everybody's black suitcase.
Yeah.
And they threw them out on the ground and said, find your suitcase.
Misty, I can't, that would be, to me, honestly, that's probably the worst part.
I would lose my mind.
Because also it was night.
Also, once they got their bags, they didn't say, hey, your private dump truck villa is right here.
Yeah.
They said, it's find it for yourself. Like, first come, first serve.
Well, no, first they had to stand in line for like 3 hours with another 600 people. And then finally Billy was like, you know what? Let's not stand in line. Everybody go find your own tent.
Everybody go find yourself a tent.
So then it became
a free-for-all.
Free-for-all.
Yeah.
That suitcase thing just, like, it makes me want to, like, it gives me anxiety. Because when I go to a carousel at the airport looking for my luggage, it is
anxiety.
A fight. It is, and I know nobody's going to steal my luggage. But I used to have, now I have pink luggage, so it's really easy to spot. But for many years, I had a black suitcase, just like everybody else's black suitcase, that you pull and whatever. And oh my gosh, it was so hard.
Well, you would say, oh, I'm not scared anybody's going to steal my luggage, but desperate people do desperate things, right? And so by nighttime, these people had turned into Lord of the Flies, and they were literally looting each other's luggage.
Yep.
Because they're in, like...
Nobody has anything.
There's
no food. There's no water.
There's no bathrooms. There's no bathrooms. They're in these white tents, if they could find one.
There's no way off this island.
1/3 of the people were there the first night, and all the tents were full.
Yeah.
1/3 of the people that had paid showed up.
Yeah.
And so at this point, then they decide, okay, guys, let's pull the plug.
Yeah. Well, they don't have Blink 182, so now that's at the point where they realize we cannot make this
happen. This isn't going to happen.
Yeah. And, another thing they did was when they were standing in line and they were trying to get their luggage, they kept this music pulsating
blaring.
really loud.
Yeah.
I guess to distract, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which they were just, nobody could hear anything. Everybody was drunk. It's like, it was night. There were no lights or electricity. There were no bathrooms. They were literally just like miserable, wanting to get off of this island as quickly as possible.
Yeah, yeah. It sucked. And this is the age of social media. And those millennials did not play around, because the second they realized that they'd been duped,
they were like, we're out.
All the world knew about it. All the world. So somebody took a picture of a cheese sandwich that they had been handed. Mm-hmm. And that's really what
They were like, here's our lobster.
Here's our lobster.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what, that's what brought it home to everybody that wasn't there.
Yeah.
What a cluster this thing was.
So the airport there was not like prepared for this mass exodus that was about to happen.
Yeah.
And so all these kids go running to the airport. They said they left rental cars running, like they were just trying to get on planes.
Get out.
And so they get to the airport. The airport cannot accommodate them. They basically all just pack into this airport, no food, no water, nothing, and just have to sleep there overnight. They basically lock them in.
Yeah.
And go, hey, we're going to try to figure this out in the morning.
Yeah.
And so again, they've spent a night hungry and thirsty and toiletless on an island. Now they're locked in an airport.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine the chaos
nightmare.
that was ensuing at that time. Because
I
these
can't
are all
believe that there wasn't rioting.
well, and these aren't just like me and you kind of people that could be like, okay, like we'll survive it. These are privileged.
Oh yes, they had never seen a hard.
These
day
are
in
a
their
bunch
life.
of rich kids who have never seen a bad day in their life. So they must have thought, well, this is the end for me.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm dead. You know?
Oh yeah, miserable.
Can you imagine the tears that were flowing?
Well, it got bad enough that Andy, Mr. I went to customs to try to get our water out.
Get us some.
He traded. It got violent. Like by this time, the people in the Bahamas, in that island, had heard about what had happened, and they all started coming to ask for their money.
They want their money.
They all want their money.
Yeah.
Of course they do. They worked, and nobody work harder than a Bahamian man. I mean, they worked so hard.
Or that Bahamian woman that owned that restaurant.
Oh, that restaurant.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh my gosh, I wanted to write her a check.
And bless her heart. Like, this woman had...
sacrificed a
She
lot.
sacrificed her savings because she had hired all these people to do this work, and
She basically vouched for Fyre Festival.
she said yes. She was like, I'll front this stuff. She was building her business, and they paid her nothing. She went in debt $60,000 just to pay her people so that they weren't
her life
without
savings.
anything. Her life savings
Yeah.
devistated her.
Yeah, she doesn't even like
Financially,
to talk about it, she
emotionally. Like she struggled even to talk about it on the
Yeah.
documentary, this poor woman.
So it got bad enough and violent enough that Andy traded clothes with one of the workers that had been there, and he hid behind a urinal. Gross. He hid behind a urinal, jumped into an old car, and he laid down in the back seat like this was some kind of movie.
Till he could get
so he could escape
to the airport. Yeah.
Yep. So meanwhile, everybody goes home and they go back to New York City. And
Can
during
I
the
tell you what my favorite part of this was?
What?
Ja Rule never showed up.
He never showed up.
He never came.
Was he the one in the meeting, like when they were back in New York City? Was he the one hyping everybody up in the meeting?
That's who I recognized the voice
The
to
voice,
be.
right?
It sounded like him. I
couldn't tell on the screen, though.
I don't know if it was or not, but he didn't even show because
No.
he's not stupid.
No, because
He was like,
plausible
I
deniability.
see all this stuff's going on. I'm not showing up there.
Well, back in New York City during a team meeting, now this is the Fyre media team meeting, and who also some of the people that had gone to the Fyre Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And Ja Rule was like, you know what? This is just a blip. This is just like when Samsung's phones blew up.
Yeah, guys.
Nobody even remembers that anymore.
Let's just rebrand
It's
and try
It's a
again.
temporary setback.
Yeah.
We're totally fine. So it ended up being that one of the casualties among the many of Fyre Festival was the Fyre app. And it's really sad because the people that worked on Fyre app did not work on Fyre Festival. So all the work they had done, all the money they were owed, all the things that Billy had promised them for being part of this startup were
Gone.
Yeah. And they could never start back up. That's not, you don't recover from
You don't recover from that.
You don't recover from that.
Not from cheese sandwiches like that.
Right. And it was only like a few days later that there was a class action
Lawsuit.
suit. Yeah.
Not
among others.
Not to mention personal ones.
Right. Among other lawsuits. Exactly. And,
Right.
And in the class action, I think it's in the class action, it might have been a separate one, the influencers were also sued because the lawsuit said you bear responsibility, even if you weren't part of the festival, for enticing people to do this. I'm not sure how much I agree with that.
My favorite thing Ja Rule said, if that was who it was, forgive me if I'm wrong, but in that meeting, he said, I mean, I wouldn't really, one of the people said, look, what we've done here is fraud. We knew that this was not what we could offer these people, and that's what we offered them. And he said, well, I wouldn't really call it fraud. I would just call it false advertisement. False advertisement is fraud.
Same thing.
It's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to go to jail either way.
Right. You're telling a lie to people, and they're purchasing goods that are not real and that they are not going to get.
Right. Billy says to everybody, nobody's being fired, but
we cannot pay you.
There will not be any payroll, and there will be no employment here anymore.
No, I'm not going to fire you, but you don't have a job.
You don't have a job. This is not being fired, though.
Right.
So somebody says, does that mean that we can go get unemployment? And he was like, I don't know what any of that means.
What is unemployment?
What does that mean? Around this time, the FBI starts making visits. Or in that phone call, that Asian girl, I don't remember her name, but she was the one really that was a real loser in all this because she had worked so hard and had nothing to do with Fyre Festival.
Right.
And she lost so much. I felt so bad for her.
Mm-hmm.
She said, hey, has anybody else received a visit from the FBI?
Yeah.
And sure enough, they had started getting these visits. And that at that point, they really start seeing the extent of the fraud that Billy had.
Right.
He said he had millions in Facebook stock, and he really only had $1,500 in stock. He said he had booked Drake, and he never booked Drake. He said he had been given a Caribbean island for Fyre Festival.
Yeah.
Like somebody gifted it to him.
Yeah.
That did not happen. And like the Tinder swindler, he used his employees' personal credit cards to pay a lot of these debts.
Oh, yeah. Some of these people had hundreds of thousands of dollars
and now they're on the hook for it. One guy said American Express is suing me for that money.
It. Yeah.
None of the Bahamians got paid. It was about $250,000 that were outstanding. We talked about the restaurant lady, Esther, I think was her name. And Billy did get arrested. He moved back into his parents' basement. In the Hulu documentary, they talked about how his next big thing was he wanted a documentary of himself. And so that's what those cameras were there for. Like he had asked his friends to come with all the cameras and to keep filming everything. Because he just thought it would be a great thing, a movie about himself.
It ended up being great evidence against him.
So he gets arrested. He comes out on bail, and he starts thinking, I really need some money, but it really can't be me, so I'm going to call my good friend Frank. And Frank, why don't you create NYC VIP access? And they targeted the Fyre Festival email list, and they start sending out emails promising private flights to Coachella, VIP passes to Coachella, meet and greet with Ed Sheeran, Demi Lovato, Taylor Swift, Burning Man tickets, courtside seats.
Taylor Swift said, I don't even do meet and greets.
Well, it took 3 minutes of somebody Googling this stuff
to go,
debunk
this
it.
is,
But 15 people gave him $100,000 throughout that effort.
Lord.
And it turns out that it was, of course, him, McFarland. What's his name? Billy McFarland.
Billy.
He was the one that was the mastermind. But the other guy was the voice because people would recognize Billy.
Right, yeah.
And so he was rearrested. And he just was convinced that he wasn't going to jail. But he did get sentenced to 6 years. And he agreed to a lifetime ban on serving as a corporate officer or director. Now, I don't know. I should have Googled him. But do you know if he ended up serving all that time?
I don't know. I just feel like he was the Mary Kay Letourneau of these festivals. Like he just kept, you know how Mary Kay Letourneau just kept going and seeing Billy Falau.
Oh yeah, she kept going back
over and over again. This is what this guy was. Like he would get out of one fraud and start another one. Get out of one fraud, start another one. And so
he reminds me. I'm gonna get killed for this. He reminds me of my ex-brother-in-law.
Really?
He physically looks like him a little bit. This Billy's a little more attractive, but they have kind of that same build and shape, face. And my ex-brother-in-law, he didn't love to have a regular job. He was always minding some way to make money.
Like he had to be
better.
He had to be better than
that.
everybody. Yeah. I don't need a corporate job. I can do my own thing.
Yeah. So anyway, I did not look him up to see if he's still in jail or what.
I'm not sure.
Happened to him, but yeah, so there you have it. That's the Fyre Festival story. Billy McFarland and where he is. He's in prison. He's in federal prison, Correctional Institute in Michigan. Okay. He is scheduled to be released August 30th, 2023. But
he will be having a festival in 2024.
Right. This is it, August, so he'll be having like a Christmas festival.
Yes.
He in April 2020 during COVID, he requested compassionate release to avoid contracting COVID because he said he was asthmatic and he might not survive.
Oh, bless. You weren't asthmatic when you were sleeping in the mud.
I hate to laugh at that, but come on.
Come on.
So, and in the end, it says that he ended up contracting it there, but I'm sure he's fine, or we would have heard about it by now. But he's in there until August of next year, so another year and a half.
And old Ja Rule got off scot-free.
Ja Rule got off scot-free. So did everybody else.
Everybody
he's the only
else
one that went to jail, but really he was the only one responsible.
Yeah.
He really was. I mean, it really is impressive how he was able to lead all these people. But now, I have to say,
Ja Rule was acting like they were partners in the beginning.
They were partners.
They were like Magic and Bird, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird.
Well, I think Ja Rule thinks a lot of himself.
You think?
I think he thinks a lot of himself, and what he brought to the table was just the name Ja Rule.
The celebrity.
Yeah, and it was up to Billy to make everything else happen.
Yeah, he was partner in name only.
Yeah, connections, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was definitely Billy who was like, no, we're not canceling.
He wanted money if it was successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he wanted no ties if it went down.
Absolutely.
Which is pretty smart, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think Billy actually, if he could use his powers for good instead of evil, is a really smart guy because he's magnetic enough that all these people followed him. And even though they were questioning him, he was like, no, we gotta get this done. Instead of somebody hopping on an airplane and leaving.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, I guess we'll try.
Now, they did say he would get on his four-wheeler and drive real fast for a little while.
Yeah.
And go reset his mind, and then he'd come back and he'd say,
who doesn't do that?
Well, let's go do something different. That's what I do every time I get nervous. I just go hop on my four-wheeler, drive out real fast, and come back.
No, I know that's not true because you'd be too nervous
I'm scared to death of an ATV. That thing will flip in a hot second. No, ma'am.
All right.
That's
it. That's the story of Billy McFarland and Fyre fraud.
Hey, good thing we don't go to music festivals.
Or have that much money.
Absolutely. Or like to fly on
We're
planes.
getting close with our Patreon, though.
We really are. Only about 100 months, and we'll be able to buy a ticket to...
the movies.
To the movies. To a Gaither concert.
The Gaither concert.
The Gaither homecoming. So, y'all keep plugging away. But, hey, that's how you know we don't do it for the money.
How?
We don't do this program for the money.
I gotta stop laughing. I gotta sing on Sunday at church, and my voice is shot.
It's gonna be fine. I'm gonna do it for you.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
I'm gonna do a Marissa solo. It's fine.
You know what? I wish that we had recorded your solo on Sunday night and we could play it for the people. We could post it to Patreon.
There's a live.
Oh yeah, there is.
There's a live feed. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna go download that.
Y'all about to get something awesome.
You're about to get church.
You about to get saved.
That might make people stop listening to us.
Well, if they do, they have the devil in them.
Oh my gosh, no, come back, people.
If that won't light you on fire, your wood's wet.
I'm totally gonna do that. I'm gonna get that and I'm gonna put it on Patreon. I totally forgot that we could do that.
Okay. Or I'll just sing it live. It's so late.
It's so late.
All right. Good night. We love y'all. Bye.